Hey guys, welcome back, it's Meg. Today we are going to be running a 20 Fortified Halls of Valor. I do just want to mention that this footage was taken before the buffs to Mistweaver, so things will be looking a little bit better in terms of healing, just in general, but also in terms of damage. We're going to go ahead and do this first pull unlusted because it is a fortified week. We also realized after the pull was over that our tank's gear was a little bit broken. So that has something to do with the fact that he purged almost immediately, as well as ended up dying later on. So make sure that you were repairing your gear before you start your key. Normally the pack doesn't do that much damage to blood decay, but if there's some repairs missing, then it's going to be a little bit scarier for their health. Big thing here is just to avoid the frontals, as well as making sure that you're clearing on your tank if they are the negative sign for thundering, trying to clear when there's no frontals happening, the big one being the lightning breath. And then you also want to make sure that you are kiting because it is a sanguine week, but a lot of this is just dispels, dodging frontals, and dodging swirlies. For time's sake, I'm going to cut this boss out. There's really nothing special that he does, it's just dodging swirlies and healing up after the horn, which honestly you can just keep punching the whole time and you can just slowly get people back up to full after that goes out. But dodge dragons, and that's it. Most of the trash here can be solved just by not getting hit by the frontal, dropping Phaline, and spinning to win. You can have some issues with dispels or kicks not going off, and then you'll have to spot heal a little bit with your instant vivifies, or just use blackout kick instead of spinning crane kick to do the healing. But generally these packs aren't too bad as long as you are dodging the frontals and your tank is kiting out of the rune of healing if that gets off, as well as kicking the heals. Given that it's a sanguine week, we are going to be moving around quite a bit, so Phaline might get left behind. That's fine. Just make sure that you are triggering your Ancient Teachings with your Essence Font, or if you don't need it, you can just keep applying your Renewing Mist and spot heal with Vivify and GG until you can get your Phaline back. These mobs will have problems with frontals, so if you're trying to clear on your tank, if they're the negative sign, you want to be watching out for the Mortal Hue. If I ever have to clear on the tank, or someone calls out that they have to clear on tank, I will usually leg sweep. I typically hold it for things like that, unless it is called for otherwise, or is needed for a really important kick like Rune of Healing or the Holy Radiance. We are going to be pulling the 2 lieutenant mobs together once these die off. The trick for pulling them together is to pull in the Sanctify mob after the Eye of Storm mob has already started his cast. That way they'll be offset and you don't have to try to dodge while trying to heal and while trying to stay in the Eye of the Storm. Because it's Fortified, I went ahead and just sent cooldowns on this. Even if it's Tyran, I would probably still send cooldowns just because of the fact that you will have time to get Chi back up before the boss. And because these mobs cast more frequently than the boss does, you will have Chi only for one of the Eye of the Storms, whereas for the boss you will have it for every single one. So Hyrja is a difficult boss even on Fortified weeks. Typically what I will do is cycle defensives and use what we have in the group. So we do have access to AMZ, we also have access to Darkness, as well as Cloak and Zephyr. For the first one, we use Chi and Diffuse. That you're going to have Chi for every single one, and then you're just going to cycle through your defensives like Cocoon, Diffuse, Dampen, Fort Brew if you have it, Moat if you have it, and you can call for personal defensives like Cloak or any other type of personal defensive that your group has access to. Typically, I will have them rotate, so if we have Darkness, then I will make sure that we have Cloak for the next one. Same with any other type of defensive. I will typically try not to overlap too many of them, just because it gets to the point where you'll end up with none of them. For this next eye, we are going to use Chi as well as Dampen. We also have access to Cocoon for someone and Moat. My Chi was a little bit late just because I had used it late on the other round, but it's alright because it's up in time for it to be useful. We also use Zephyr and AMZ. Normally, again, I had said I don't like to overlap them, but that is the last eye that we are going to get, and I still have access to a lot of my cooldowns as well. Right here we are shrouding past these, but we are going to go ahead and pull them through this portal and onto the dragon. This way we're not just killing one single mob by himself, because it's a bit of a waste of time. Fenryr is made much easier by having a rogue, but you do want to make sure that everyone is standing in melee for the shared cleave that he does. It's an AoE. You do not want to be casting during the Unnerving Howl because it is a interrupt for the Claw Frenzy right there. That is everyone being in melee, and then when he does the jumps, you are all going to spread if you are targeted. Unfortunately, this boss's spell queuing is kind of bad. He may do multiple charges or he may do multiple Claw Frenzies, and there's not really a way to tell until it has already happened. So using Chi-Ji, I will usually pop it as I see the Claw Frenzy casting, just so I don't end up wasting the entire bird, waiting for him to spell queue, and then he doesn't do it ever, and then just missing an entire cooldown. Right here I tried to Transcendence, but I was too close, and then I Transcendence into someone else, so we got double stacked, so I went ahead and just popped defensives here. I will have them up by the time that I need them for the second half of the boss. Right here, when he comes back to the center, you can see Zephyr go up. I will also be popping Dampen. This is mainly just because we're trying to guess when he's going to Claw Swipe, and we got lucky here because we did get value out of it, but in general, it's kind of just get lucky with the spell queuing or just use it, just have really fast reaction time. Any of that also works. But the big thing is mostly just dodging the leaps as much as you can. Having a rogue really helps for this. I also believe that Shadow Meld works, or any type of Vanish ability. So that's very helpful. You can also intervene the charge target if you have a Prot Warrior. But there's a lot of little things you can do on this boss to make it easier, but ultimately I think the hardest part about it is just the inaccurate spell queuing. I went ahead and just listed this pull to get it on cooldown because we will get another one, and this is kind of just AoE spin to win down the bears, do as much damage as you can. I went ahead and just cut out our run back. We are doing the beer tech with these guys, so if you don't know how that works, you will talk to them both at the same time, and then when one of them turns unfriendly, you will toss the beer at him and drag the hostile mob over, and the unfriendly one is going to beat up the hostile one. Eventually it'll turn back friendly when the beer wears off, and you can talk to him again to trigger him. There's really not a whole lot of healing to do on these. Typically I will just take the time and DPS as much as I can. I'm gonna go ahead and just cut forward to where we start Odyn. God King Skovald doesn't really have anything to do on him either. The only thing to do there is make sure your tank is properly keeping the shield up for the Ragnarok. But outside of that, there's really no damage outside of the single target charge, which is taken care of just by some hots. Even for Odyn, there isn't a lot of healing to go out, but there is healing in important places. You have to make sure that people are being topped before the runic brand, and then during it you want to make sure you have hots rolling, as well as an instant vivify or a revival. You can also use defensives on yourself and cocoon on someone else. On Fortified, you will probably at maximum get 2. On Tyran, depending on the key level, you may get 2 or 3. Typically people are fast enough to get to the runes, they don't need excessive amounts of healing, but the most advice I can offer you on this guy is do not stop to heal them during Runic Brand. Unless you are right next to them, you're right next to your brand, you shouldn't have to stop to cast because you're just not going to be able to keep both of yourselves up, and then it is more worth it to get your rune done and then be able to top people. I went ahead and popped a fuse here. I used Moat as well, and then the instant vivify on our lowest target there, go ahead and lust and try to burn him down. The spawning of the spirits does quite a bit of damage, especially as you get more of them, but the Shatter Spirits doesn't do anything. All you have to do is dodge the orbs. So you can use a defensive there, or if you find you get more use out of it for Runic Brand, you can also do that. However, I don't really find much issue with the spear spawning. Usually I can just heal that back with an instant vivify and some hots, but otherwise it is pretty straightforward, and Runic Brand is the most dangerous part of this guy. Usually I will show the overall at the end for damage and for healing, but I forgot to do this because this was live and I was honestly just so happy to be done with halls because I had been in here a lot. So I apologize for not having that, though I can tell you that Ancient Teachings is the highest. Awakened Feline is also up there due to the beginning of the dungeon, and then everything else kind of fills in the rest. If you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to hit me up on Twitch, Twitter, or Discord. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.